And we're live. And good evening, one and all. Here we are with tonight's VT Talk with yours truly, Dave, Hi-Fi Stud, and over my right shoulder, you've probably heard all this before, the gloriousness, wonderfulness, red-headedness, that is Sav, but next door to her,
Good evening.
Good evening. Hello.
yes, and I've just realised that what I didn't do on that one was to put my own microphone in the shot. Wasn't that clever of me? There are times I wonder whether I actually have any sense in any way, shape or form. And patently I haven't. So we'll just try that shot again for the pair of you to say hello. Say hello. Yes, is that? No, that wasn't working either. I gave up on this one. Right, I've worked out what it was now. I understand. I now understand what it was, where I went wrong, and I thought I'd got this all sorted out this afternoon. Right, I think we're fit to go. My understanding is there's been lots and lots of questions asked in the chat room. Is that right?
There has. We've had quite a few questions coming in already.
Some of them not entirely pointed towards us, I understand.
No, we're even getting questions from the chat room for the chat room.
Oh, well, sing a few out.
Right, well, the main one that seems to be coming up over and over again is a question for Delboy saying, are you going to apply to become a VTTV presenter? And if not, why not?
Well, no, there's a good question. That is a brilliant question, and that's a question I'd like the answer to as well, I have to say. Because in our last chat, when Del phoned in, it was very interesting, and what a beautiful voice he has. And I think he could be a great asset to Vapor Trails TV. What he doesn't know is I've got me 306 DCA now, and he did promise he would come in and we'd swap notes. So here's a question for Del. Are you up for it for tomorrow night, Bonnie lad? Is he typing?
I think he's panicking.
I cannot understand why that would be.
Oh, no idea.
None whatever.
He says yes, he'll come in tomorrow.
Great. Webcam? We wait the required 3 seconds.
He says he's panicking though.
Well, that's fair enough. It is quite often a bunny's nose situation doing this.
And he says, webcam if I must.
I really would appreciate it, actually, because no doubt there'll be things you want to point at, as quite often there are things I want to point at. And if a picture paints 1,000 words, then there you go. The pen is mightier than the sword. That's exactly where we are with that one. Yes. Any other interesting questions for the chat room, from the chat room?
Not so much for the chat room. I've had the question back from Del saying, Sav, when are you starting your show? And my answer is after Willow and Del.
Okay. I think that's a major step forward. I do, because last week you were never going to do a show.
I didn't say how long. I didn't say how long after Willow and Del.
That's fair enough, I suppose. Yes,
Yeah.
I'll have a little slurp of wine. But I do know you did tell me that there was one quite important one that came in before the show started. The Red Man.
Yes. Rusty put a question up saying, can VTTV cover the Totally Wicked event at the Blue Bell at Driffield on the 5th of October?
Well, now, this it's not just at Driffield. It's from Scarborough at 10 o'clock, was it, Chris?
10 o'clock, yeah.
10 o'clock at Scarborough, and then Driffield at?
Driffield is 2:30, I believe, isn't it?
12:30 till 2.
Yeah.
12:30 till 2:30 at Driffield, and then York?
Then York 3:30 to 4:30. Finishing off at Harrogate 5:30 till 7.
Well, We had a little conflab before we went live, seamlessly after the Haze Hour that just played out. I hope you noticed. And what I would like to do is follow him for the full lot: Scarborough, Driffield, York, and finishing up wherever it is it finishes up. That would, of course, then mean, because that's Wednesday, October the 5th, we'd have to do VTTalk on an OB, an outside broadcast. And if we can do that, then I would love to do that. That would be Bunny's nose times 10, I think. In fact, my backside would be clapping. And my knees knocking. When knees knocking's never a problem. It's when they miss you fall over, of course. But yes, I would love to do that and see what's actually going to happen, because I don't think anybody knows whether it's going to be the Mr. Wicked character or whether it'll be Jason as Jason doing the visits. So yes, one way or another, I'd like to think we can do at least 3 of them. I'm not entirely certain we can get down to Scarborough for 10 o'clock in the morning though, because that's enormously early. Enormously early for a man that's used to being a musician.
Aye.
You know, any musicians in layabouts in the chat room or watching the programme later will understand exactly what I mean. I mean, you know, there's only 8 o'clock on my clock, and that's not in the morning.
Yeah, I've got that clock as well.
Yeah, that was 1 hour and 7 minutes ago. Was that 8 o'clock? That's the only one I'm aware of. But yeah, I would love to cover it and find out what he's going to be doing. Do a little bit of filming on it, and yes, would have an hour or so to edit any video together before we played it out in the VTTalk on the night. So if we can conceivably manage it, we will. It would be remiss of us not to, I think. Very much so. Very much so. Because aside from anything else, I understand that there's local press publicity's going to be happening. I think the PR machine's already gone into effect. And my information is, and I'm not 100% certain about it, but my information is that there's going to be telecameras there anyway. So that'd be good.
It would seem that way, yeah.
Yes. So it would just be 2 or 3 more, wouldn't it? With Savcam. We'd get Savcam on.
Oh dear.
You'd like to do that, wouldn't you?
Yes, any excuse for Savcam.
Oh, that would be cracking, that. Savcam. Savcam with Mr. Wicked.
Yes, could be interesting.
I like that idea. I think we should do it. One way or another, I think we should do it. Yes. So, there you go, Rusty. If we can, we will. Has that made him happy?
Yeah. Yes, because Rusty says he'll be at Driffield.
They talk funny down there, you know.
So I've heard.
Because it's in proper North Yorkshire, that is, where it's alright like that, knows, lad. They're going down to Chippy, get me, you know, with squanchums on and stuff like that. Don't get it all well done, though. I've heard them talk. They get their fish from Filey, apparently. Aye. So, yes. Now, I'm going to experiment tonight because I've been rejigging the doodahs. And I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to play videos in for tomorrow night's show. And in order to experiment a bit, as we break the topics up, there's going to be a sting like this. And it's working. So there you go. That's how it's all going to work. And that one played out. I hope there's a round of applause in the chat room. I really do. I can see it going out. It's working. That's brilliant. So, what have we got next then, Kirsty?
Right. Next question is actually another question from Rusty, and he just wants to know: have we had any people volunteering to be presenters on VTTV? And if any, please name them.
Right. Well, now, Chris and I went and hijacked somebody the other day, didn't we?
We did. Although I don't know whether it'd be a good idea to name him yet. Do you?
No, because it's not all completely firmed up. But I'm going to let you review the reviewer, review the presenter, Chris. Go on, because I can see the smile on your face now.
Well, this person is very articulate. It is a he. He's young. He's very handsome and definitely will appeal to the ladies out there.
He's not getting a job.
And I think that's enough of a carrot to dangle at this stage, don't you?
I'm not sure you should have used the word carrot.
I know, and I realised that when I said it.
Because, Willow Fairy, I cannot say what you're chatting, but corner.
And it's not Dave's twin brother, no.
No.
As Mighty Mouse has just said.
No. No. The dark side of the Dawn family, no. To give him a show by himself on camera, it would just be too much. I have trouble understanding and we're identical twins. You can't get any more identical than us. But no, the guy you're talking about, it won't be every week at the same time that he's doing it. We're going to organise this around his schedule, and I think you'll be thrilled. But the second one was at the end of Sunday's show when we were discussing this. Did I see that Dell and Willow Fairy were going to toddle off into a private chat room somewhere and start talking about their show?
And Liam, I believe. So three of them.
A three-way?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, we've got the name.
Could be a three-way.
We've got the name for that straight away, then.
Oh, God.
Be in the corner with Mighty Mouse on Friday and spit roast on Saturday.
Oh, dear me.
It's nice to have friends, isn't it? Sorry, I'm blushing slightly because the picture's just gone through my mind. I do apologise.
Somebody said, John Bonwan's just said, Gary Dibley needs a full-time show, which I would agree he does, but he doesn't have the time, bless him.
Well, I've got to say, in Gary's defence, we did ask him about it, and he did say he would love to do it, but at the moment, he just doesn't have enough hours in the day. His new solder station's been put together, and his new drill press and everything else, and he's going to be a busy boy. And you'll find out tomorrow night in the Haze Hour why he's going to be a very, very busy boy. But I'll kind of give you a quick clue. That was it. I just flashed that picture through. Yes. If anybody was quick enough to say what that is, you'll find out all about that tomorrow night. It'll give you a kick. Yes. I was just watching the replay and it's only just gone past very quickly.
Yes.
Yes. Trust me, when I got hold of Chris to tell her about that piece of kit, which I've just shown, that one, what was my face like, Chris?
Oh, beaming. He was beaming. In fact, you wouldn't have known his backside from his face, to be honest. There was such a smile going from one end to the other.
It was. It was like Jennifer Aniston and Courtney Cox had both said yes at the same time.
Oh,
To making me supper. Nothing else, of course.
No.
So,
Of course.
yes. So Mr. Dibley is going to have his hands very, very full with some really, really exciting developments that's going to take modding in the UK from where it is now to a whole nother level, I believe is how they pronounce it in the United States of America, in the state of Ohio, at Ashtabula. They're going to be Googling it now to find out what I'm talking about. Tune in tomorrow, I'll tell you. I will. Right, yes, hang on. We'll have another, because we're going on to something else. Here we go. It's working. There now. Sting's video is playing. This is good. You've got no idea how thrilled I am about this. And it's brilliant. And the next one, Sav.
Right, the next question comes from the Magic Dragon, and he asks, will any of the VTTV presenters be reviewing WTA e-juice?
Yes, one of us will be. And I don't know who it's going to be, although I have a preference as to who it's going to be. And she's on screen now. Towards the left. Sav's mum. I'm not going to tell you what her name is. And yes, I'm going to try and get my hands on some of that. I'm going to get it up to you, Chris. This is the whole tobacco alkaloid jobby stuff. And I do think that we do need to have a look at it. Right. And I'm going to I want to let Keith have a bit of a danger at it as well. I'm fine. I don't miss tabs at all. Not in any way, shape or form. Much prefer the flavour out of these things, and I get such a belt out of what I'm using anyway that it's the WTA holds no great attraction for me, so I'm probably not the man to look at it. But I think Keith being so soon away and into his e-cig life, and Chris, because I think your knowledge of that kind of thing, and yours as well, Sav, is going to be invaluable on those, and I trust your two judgments implicitly on this. So if you would, we'll get some sorted out.
Okay.
Is that fair?
Well, at least I can be totally unbiased because I know absolutely nothing about them.
Well, quite.
Nothing at all. Never heard of them.
You would you would probably think that it was Watts misspelled.
Probably. I'll be saying what they're doing with Watts. Norms in here. Aye, could be interesting.
Yes, it'll be. It will be interesting to have a look at because from what I've seen, there was an interminably long thread over on ECF about the whole tobacco alkaloids thing, and a lot of very good work done by 2 or 3 folks that are really clever in that area of biochemistry, where they were doing all the analysis and the extraction and this and that and the rest of it. And it does seem that it could give you what an e-cig doesn't give you out of a fag that some people seem to need. Now, as I say, I've been very fortunate in that I've not found any other needs. I'm just not being tempted close to kind of going back. I mean, if the vapor police came and took everything I had away from us and prevented me from buying anything else, aside from sneaking up to yours for the odd crafty drag, I'd be up the paper shop buying 20 Marleys. There's no two ways about it. But that's the nicotine thing. Otherwise, I've got no desire for a fag in any way, shape or form. Much prefer the e-cigariness in all its glory. And particularly this, which I'm going to be looking at tomorrow night. And again, corking piece of kit.
See, I don't feel that the nicotine is such a huge thing for me. And I know Sab's very similar, that we tend to be unaware of exactly how much nicotine is in the juice that we're mixing. It could be anything between 8 and 18. And I don't feel it makes a big difference. I mean, you brought me some 36.
I did.
The other week there. Mm-hmm. And I put some of that, in a cartomizer, and it didn't make any difference to my vaping habit. I was still, hand to mouth all the time. So what some people have described, that if they use a higher nicotine juice, it means they can put, the e-cig down periodically. I can't.
I'm sorry.
No.
Put the e-cig down. No, you'll have to explain that one to me.
Yeah, well, it's a new one on me, and some people do and just pick it up every half hour or so. I cannot do that.
That's perverted.
Mm-hmm. Now, with cigarettes I did. I wouldn't be smoking 2 or 3 cigarettes one after the other. I'd be sick.
Oh, hell. I mean, at one point in my career, this would be 1988, 1980 to 1986, I got through 100 a day.
God.
There was never one not dangling in the corner of my mouth. Never. Well, there would be one or two exceptions. But at that point in time, I would get halfway through my main course and pause for a fag. And then finish my main course off at home. The only time I didn't have a fag in my mouth was when I was in bed. The only time. So, yeah. I mean, I cut right back to about 60 a day. Up until 2.5 years ago when these things came along. But no, yeah. I don't, well, you know yourself, I tend not to put them down very much.
No. You see, I remember only too well the darker aspects. And I'm not talking about just the cough, but the other things that you would get if you smoked too much. And that horrendous feeling of nausea if you'd had too many cigarettes in the morning before you had something to eat.
No.
And you physically felt sick.
See?
No, I don't get that with these cigs.
That never actually got to me at all. I mean, when as a kid, when I took up buying packets of fags rather than getting loosies, my dad collared us. He nabbed us because obviously I wasn't telling me mum and dad I smoked, and he made me smoke. He gave me a packet of 20 and just kept on lighting the next one all the way through as I got through them. And I got to 15 and it wasn't touching us, so he ended up taking the packet off us and hiding it in the back of the fire. He was well upset that it wasn't doing us any harm. It probably would have flattened him, but it had no effect on me. I don't know why. I've no idea why. But
well, I have to admit to being very similar, because my dad tried that by handing me a pipe full of St. Bruno, and I enjoyed it. He tried the cigar, that didn't work. So I think I was 15 then, and my mother just said, there you go, I think it was Kensidus she smoked in those days, there you go, have one of these. And that was it. I smoked 20 from that point on, and that was virtually it, for 43 years. Occasionally I would go up to 25. But that nausea never left me, and I would say, oh, I've had too many cigarettes. And that was with just a maximum of 20 to 25 a day.
Well, I mean, again, I've never been cockly at all. There's only one thing ever makes me feel cockly. Do we need to translate that for our brethren in the south?
No, bloody coconut ice. You're not on about that. I'm mental again.
No. That makes us windy. That's not the same. Cockly, nauseous. The only thing that ever makes me throw up is seeing somebody else throw up, even if they're on the telly. Yeah. If somebody vomits on the telly, I'm away. That's the only thing. I can sit and watch open heart surgery while I'm eating. Doesn't bother us at all. Change a band's nappy with a sandwich in one hand and the salt and pepper and the safety pin in the other. Doesn't bother us in the slightest. Now, like that. But if somebody else vomits, oh my God, I'm straight there. But that's the only thing. I've never had feelings of no. I've had a banging headache with nicotine. I mean, absolutely banging headache when I've overdone it, especially with that 54 and double barrel silver bullets. Yes, that was a bit rough. But
no, I've had the headache with too much nicotine, vaping, but it's something I never experienced when I was smoking.
I used to get lightheaded rather than a headache. I'd get dizzy.
Yeah,
but that was it.
I don't particularly, and the other one, which I hate to go back to, but that morning cigarette was the guaranteed time to go run into the loo. It kept you regular, I suppose.
Well, I mean, habitual with me. Cup of coffee, 3 fags, sitting on the throne reading the paper. 3/4 of an hour to start the day.
You see, that I don't want all the negative things back.
No. So now it's a cup of coffee, Provari, or whatever. And 3/4 of an hour to read the paper. It's how you start the day. I mean, let's face it. That's the way it should be.
Well, these days, don't things change? I mean, instead of reading the paper, I go on to the newspaper online these days and scan it on there.
Yes. Is
that what the iPad's for? To take it through the loop?
That's why it's the shape it is, yes. So you've always got a hand free to hold it. Did you not know why men's jama jackets have a top pocket in? That's somewhere to put your GG while you get sorted out down below.
Oh,
that's
right,
what that's for.
Right,
oh, yes. Right. I assume ladies have got a similar pocket in their 90s. I wouldn't know. I've never looked.
No.
No.
Well, you've got another holster, haven't you?
Oh.
You'll see the picture in a minute. Yes. Yeah, I think we might have wandered a little bit off topic there, did we?
Oh, I do it all the time.
I forgot what the topic was.
Well, never mind. We'll sting and move on. Sting. I'm loving this. He stings and moves. You've got no idea how thrilled I am that those stings. It's brilliant. It's back to the old days. I'm loving it. I'm easy pleased. Probably just as well. Hang on. I'm going to tease them all again. It's a different view this time. There you go. That's all you're getting. The bright ones will have worked it out. Maybe. Next question. I've been
keeping an eye.
Have you?
Yes.
Has anybody worked it out yet?
Yes.
Who?
Well, I know Mr. Dibley got rather excited when he saw it.
That's because I told Mr. Dibley what was coming a while ago.
Yes, and a few others sort of said, ooh.
Yes. There is a subtle hint in what I'm talking on. Right. Okay. Let's blast on. What's the next?
Next question is from Mighty Mouse.
Yes.
At what levels of voltage do you find works better for PG, VG, a PG-VG mix, and PEG-based liquids, and how does the different levels affect throat hit and flavour? Do the different levels perform about the same from atties to cartomizers?
I didn't realise this was an exam. Is it not multiple choice? Is it multiple choice?
Unfortunately not.
He hasn't put the word discuss at the end of that, has he?
No.
In no more than 2,500 words, and sure you're working out, and you'll be credited for good research. Right. My normal juice of choice is Vaping World's BM2 mix, which is a PEG and VG mix, PEG and VG. And on this here 306 that I'm currently running, I knew this would happen, so I brought me glasses. As you do, because I don't need them when the screen's just, I cannot see a thing now. Where have you all gone? I'm running this at 9 watts, which is 4 volts exactly. Now that's a 306 in a drip cup adapter, which we'll be looking at in depth tomorrow night. And that's with the PEG and VG BM2 mix of RY High 5. And it's glorious at that. Doesn't need to be any hotter. However, on this here dual coil atom manubulator, which is an atom manubulator and not a carto manubulator, I'm running exactly the same juice, but I'm running at 10.5 watts, which, if you half that, is like 5.5 watts per coil, I suppose. But as you'll have seen during the course of this, it's producing like the Nigel Gresley on full afterburner doing the run up to Edinburgh from York. It's parking it out, and is really nice. Now, PG, I can't really tell you because I haven't used any PG in a month of Sundays because it's too thin for me in terms of the vapour that it produces. I like my vapour thick and chewy so that it coats the inside of your mouth and you feel it, you know. And I don't actually have... The only PG I have to hand is menthol, so I'm not going to try it. So it's difficult to answer the question. However, you know a little bit about glycerin going to high temperatures, don't you, Chris?
A little bit.
And that acrolein stuff.
Yeah, you don't want to get there when if you burn VG at a very high temperature, that's what you will get. But e-cigs don't run as high as that. I don't think there's one out there that goes, is it 230 degrees?
It's somewhere up there. It's certainly higher than the boiling point of water.
Yeah, I think it's around about 230 degrees that it can produce acrolein. But there's been quite a few tests done with various atomizers. And of course, I don't think tests have been done on some of the newer ones, but I still don't think they're going to run anywhere near. I can't remember the figures, so I don't want to quote them. But I have a feeling it was something like the high 70s, wasn't it? Was about the highest that any of them got to. So it was quite a long way away. I can't remember though. I think the bottom line on it is that if you would taste it, apparently, you would know. You would. Because apparently it tastes like the waste products of a pussycat, mixed together with the juice from a pile of festering dingo kidneys, i.e. not very nice, and you would be very aware and you would just stop. I think it's most likely to occur, if it's going to occur at all, with a dry atty or a dry coil, whichever way you look at it. But I don't think we're likely to produce that. I know there's been a few scare stories on the forums over the last couple of years, but nothing that you would really need to worry about, I wouldn't have thought. No, because there was somebody that was working for, was he not working for Decang at the time, that did quite a lot of detailed experiments on all of this. And posted all the results over in ECF. And I know when I read them, I thought, well, I don't really see it as anything really to worry about.
It doesn't strike me as anything that's going to be immediately threatening, purely and simply on the basis that over the last year, certainly, I mean, I've played with some tremendously high voltage and high wattage devices. I mean, just out of daftness the other day, I ran the GG, the UFS, with a 1.5 ohm atomizer in at 8.4 volts. If there's a Steve Mack in the house, he'll tell you how many watts that is. And I did this for one reason only, and that was because I had been told that Imeo does it on a regular basis, and I didn't honestly believe it was possible to do, but it is. And I did it, and it's the same atomizer, so it should handle it. So I'll stick a couple of 16340s in here, AWs, so we know they're not going to wimp out, and we'll give it a blast, and I'll tell you if it tastes weird and funny. The one thing I do know is I need to get the coil wet, and then some. But even then, the flavour didn't really change that much. The vapour and the temperature intensified a lot. Now, what I'm about to do is just pump it. So I'm going to stick a barrel load of juice in there, and you can't keep the button down very long. That is, wow, it's hot. But there's no nasty taste of acrolein in there. That'll be running at twice the temperature it usually gets to. So I think, you know, you're pretty safe. I certainly wouldn't advise anybody to be running anything like that, a 1.5 ohm on 8.5, 8.4 volts, or even, you know, 7.6 or whatever it is that it gets to, 7.4. It's not healthy, I don't think, but I don't think it's not going to damage, it'll just blister. I don't think it's going to kill you. But, you know, there you go. Daftness personified. If you want somebody to do something stupid, ask me. Well, try anything once if I think it's not going to kill us. My granddad always said it exactly the same way. If you get presented with an opportunity, take it. If you didn't like it, you don't have to do it again. If you do, you can do it all the more. Much better at 3.7 though. But it'll be even better with one of them in.
I think the rule is that if you're vaping a juice and the smell that's coming off it is offensive in any way, don't vape the stuff.
Yes.
And don't vape it at whatever it is you're vaping at.
Like that stuff we got from Paddy Puff.
Yeah.
Aye, no.
So it's not advisable.
Now, I don't know what more information we can give you, Mike, in terms of temperatures and stuff like that. But there are the material safety data sheets out there, the MSDs. And everybody should, I would imagine everybody knows how to use Google. So if you Google on a glycerin MSD or propylene glycol MSD, then you'll pull up the material safety data sheets on them, and they will tell you in relatively extreme terms what the do's and don'ts are. And if there's anything like, you know, at, I don't know, pick a number off the top of your head, at 235 degrees it produces a genie, then it tells you on the MSD. And it's worth looking them up. They're a useful piece of information.
They are.
So has that exhausted that one?
I think so, yes. I had a few questions come in whilst you've been talking about the DCA.
Right.
John Bon1 just wants to know how you're getting on with it, and TH Jahar wants to know who's going to be selling them.
Well, at the moment, they are only available from Good Sense Vapor, with no U in, misspelled, completely misspelled. Good Sense Vapor, over in the United States of Americania. Their website, believe it or not, is goodsensevapor.com. And they are, I believe, $28. And you get a 306 thrown in with it when it comes. I'll go into great detail, well, deeper detail tomorrow night when I actually do the proper review on it. But to answer John Bon 1, it's serving me very well. It's made me feel a lot less insecure about using a dripping device on the Darwin. Heretofore, I had been sticking with cartos of one sort or another because they tend not to be anuretic, shall we say. They don't weigh out of the little bottom hole. Whereas with the DCA, of course, there is nowhere for any of that to go. That's why it's come about, which means there's no danger of getting juice into any little crevices or cracks or nooks or crannies on any of the Darwins, because I've got unsealed and sealed. So it makes me feel a lot happier about using it on there. It's a pretty looking piece of kit as well. My only regret is they didn't have any of the drip tips that matched, because they look a little bit sexy. But yes, I'll go into more detail on that tomorrow night on the Haze Hour, with Keith in attendance, because he'll try it out as well, and we'll see what he's got to say. That's if I can prise the Buzz Pro back out of his hands. I have the feeling I've lost that. Such is life. So that's those two.
Right, there's one question John Bon wants just asked now, which again is related. He says, Hi-Fi, I think the Mad Pirate 306 is very good. Do you think they're as good as the Cisco 306?
If it's the Mad Pirate one I've been sent, then tune in tomorrow night. It's a difficult one, because the Cisco of the ones I've used in suits me better. The question then is, what would you consider to be best? And this is, to me, this is something that it's a very difficult question for any one of us to answer, because I say to Sav, what's the best wattage for your DCC that you're using, and you'll tell me what?
8.5.
Right. What's the best wattage for yours, Chris?
8.4.
See, I like it at 10.2.
8.4.
So for me, 10.2 is best. And it's like saying, you know, which is the best Coke? Is it Pepsi or is it Coke? Coca-Cola. Which is the best cola, Pepsi or Cola? And
excuse me.
It's quite all right. You've been sniffing that cat's bum again. So best is a very different, very difficult one to do. But what I will do tomorrow night is I'll have each of the 306s that I've got in the DCA, and you'll be able to see how they perform vapor-wise, and I'll tell you what I'm getting flavour-wise and hit-wise and draw-wise and stuff like that, and how well they work with it. And I'm sure that Del will steam in and he'll have his opinions as well, and he'll tell you how he feels, and I'm looking forward to that, because it's going to be very interesting to see what the different takes on it are, you know. Sorry, I'm talking with me hands here, and well, we're on video, so why not?
Exactly.
Indeed.
Well, I'm certainly interested to watch this, because I don't know anything about the DCA either.
I think it will interest you, and it would suit you.
Right.
I think it would suit you. I do. Are we going to go to another question, Kirst?
Yes, we are. I
Right.
just lost all my questions for a second.
Don't worry, I shall play a sting. You've got 8 seconds to find them. I love having these stings back.
You need any more, Kirst?
I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled my stings are working. It's great. Videos are working, Chris.
Excellent.
Excellent. Yes, go on then, Kirst.
Right, we've got a question from Seabiscuit, and he wants to know, why is it important to keep batteries paired when stacking them in a mod?
Well, now here's the thing. If you talk to our radio control brethren that use electronic motors and electric motors, they charge with some very, very clever chargers that do a kind of a balancing thing around all of the batteries. And they make sure that all of the batteries are at exactly the same voltage. Now, with a Lion battery, its voltage is a very, very accurate representation of exactly how much charge is in there. And it's down to the millivolt. And it's actually a measure of, I suppose, it's the electrons that have been attached to whatever it is that they're getting attached to. And it's very, very accurate. So what it means is, when you're using a stacked battery set, whether it be 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, however many, you know that they're going to discharge at the same rate, and therefore you don't get any disparities between them, because one of the issues, shall we say, with dangerous use of stacked batteries is when you've got different voltages, and one doesn't have the power, if you like, to be able to handle what the other one's shoving through it, because obviously the two voltages get added together when they're in series, and it can put a stress on the membranes and the substrates that are in there, and cause them little hot spots, just tiny little wee ones that puncture through. And when that's punctured through, that's when you start getting all the nasties and what have you. So it's kind of working on the basis that when you get the batteries, if you keep them paired, two A's, A1 and A2 together, and two B's, B1 and B2 together, you charge them at the same time, and you keep them in the same order all the time, then you know how they're going to perform, and you can feel if there's a difference in temperature through usually the metal body of a mod, or even through the plastic if it's series batteries in a plastic mod like this one, my 5 volt Gary Dibley box mod. The two batteries that are in there were bought at exactly the same time from exactly the same place in a batch of 8, as it happens. But before I put them in there, I did, when I took them off the charger, measure the voltage on them both, and they were bang on together, so I know I was all right for doing that. But you do need to be a little bit, I mean, with you know, with a modern electronically controlled mod, like the Buzz, it's got all the protection circuitry in there, and if there's too much current being drawn, it just cuts it out, you know. And the protection circuits on the batteries do that as well. But belt and braces, and you know, if it saves just one child's life, whatever, you just got to be a little bit careful. Think of the children. Don't blow your hand off. Otherwise, how can you strangle them? Because you need one hand to hold them down while you strangle them with the other, you see. So think of the children. Don't blow your hand off with batteries. Sorry, Lee. Yes, but you know what I mean. It's yeah. With the likes of the IMRs, I don't think it's that big an issue. With the likes of these trust fires that are now kind of outdated a bit, it may be more of an issue. And with unprotected batteries, just don't go there. If you've got unprotected batteries, I don't care what else is going on, don't. Just don't. No matter what anybody says, just don't. It's not worth the risk. Don't. And if I could be excused repeating myself, don't. Just don't. Did I make that point well enough?
I think so.
Indeed. So there you go. Batteries are queer things.
I was always told to keep them in pairs for another reason as well, which you probably covered and I missed, was for charging. That you charge them, the pair you had to charge them together, even if you just use single ones.
Yes.
So that they all had the same level of charge at the same time.
Exactly.
And that was something I remember from the old days. It's a bit different now, like with the 101s. Is it 101s, TR100s, or whatever they're called?
TR001.
I was close.
TR001 and the 139.
Right.
Yes.
Since using the 001, things have got a lot easier, I must admit, from the nano chargers and all that we had at the beginning.
Oh, good Lord, yes. Yes. How many adapters can you plug into an adapter? Basically. 2 pin to 3 pin to God knows what to wherever it was, just to try and get the blood things to make circuit. It's a lot different now. And I must admit, I am seriously considering purchasing one of those there peeler chargers, or piler, whichever way you want to put it. Because they've got a damn good reputation and they are guaranteed separate circuits. So yes, you've got, if you look after your batteries, they'll look after you. Whether it be an Ego or a Tornado battery, or an 18650 or a 14500 or even a 10440, if you look after them, they'll look after you, and you get ages out of them. If you abuse them, on the other hand, then they'll creep up and bite you on the bum when you least expect it. Well,
touch wood, I've been very lucky with batteries. Haven't had any major disasters.
That's because you treat them properly. You don't.
Bar one. That was with the a 10440 with a janty stick.
Oh right, yes.
And I can't remember exactly what happened now, but it blew, and it was intact, but it blew the atomizer to bits.
Did it?
And yet the battery was completely intact.
Eminently possible that it just went...
You know the screw fitting on the top?
Aye.
That used to be, it was quite a heavy screw fitting on the janty stick. Well, that was sucked inwards. And the classic atomizer was in bits.
Oh dear. Yes.
That's the only time I've ever had that. And it was perfectly weird. But there you go.
Aye.
I've never had an issue with a battery charger. I still have the same batteries that I bought for my very first GG. So they're about 2 years old, if not more, and still going strong.
Well, just out of daftness the other day, because I had most of the AWs on charge, and I had 2 devices running. I wanted to pull a third one up with an 18650 in. And I went and had a scrat about in the drawer and got my very first ever 18650 out. My very first ever protected 18650 out. Stuck it on the charger. It took about 10 minutes to get up to full charge. Bunged it in the device, and blow me, I got about 6 hours out of it. And that's nearly it's getting on for 2-year-old, and it had some humpty in the early days. Like I say, if you look after them, they'll look after you. Always good. Always good. So I see you nodding there. I'm looking in your glasses to see what the reflection says, Kirst. See what the next question's going to be.
Well, we'll have a couple more still to go. So
Good.
Right, the next one is from Very Boring, who says, is Mr. Dawn going to collaborate in the design of any more juices, or indeed are any of the other VTTV crew going to have a juice designed?
Well, I've been asked if I'll do another one, and I've said that I will give it some serious thought. I really want to see how well the RY High Five goes down over a slightly longer period of time, and people who have never heard of me buy it and see what they have got to say about it and stuff like that. And that's purely and simply to get a good gauge on whether I've done a good job with that one. And there's a lot of people have said I have, and you've got no idea how thrilled I am about all of that, and the fact that so many people have said how nice the RY High Five is, and that has thrilled me enormously. But yes, I will have a look at another juice, but I need to get my head around what I want it to do, what I want it to be. So at the likes of the road show that we're doing at the Anglers Rest with Rusty, I'm going to talk to folks down there, find out what it is they like, what it is they want out of a juice. And I want to talk to all sorts of folks, whether it's on Google Plus, and my circle for e-smokers is, I think it's about 360 odd at the minute, but add me on there, let me know, tell me. And I just want to find out from people what, and get a feel for what would be a juice that would appeal to everybody.
Menthol.
Oh, you can bugger off. One thing I'm not doing is menthol. It's not happening. No.
Well, Jeff has just said in the chat, can you make the next one disappear more slowly? This goes very quickly.
Yeah. I'll let you... Look, that is my bottle of RY High Five. 500 millilitres of BM2 when it arrived with a Paula fill. And we know what that means. And alongside it was another 50ml bottle, so I could see what the 50ml bottles look like. I now have, and bear in mind it's only been out 3 weeks, if that. I've got 200 mils left. It's moreish. I cannot put it down. And I didn't make it for me. Made it for everybody else, and I cannot put it down. And I hear what you're saying, Jeffers. And no, if the next one I come up with is as nice as that, I'll be well chuffed. But I hear what people are saying. Yes, I would love to get, what it is about a juice that people like. As long as it's not menthol, I'll look at the design, and we'll kind of go from there. But it's not going to happen for. Well, it'll be next year, early to mid next year, because it took us 3 months to sort this one out, there or thereabouts. So, look forward to another one, kind of second quarter next year, I believe that's the phrase they use, isn't it? And yes, because I've already been asked, and I did say I would, but that'll be about the time scale. And thank you so much for asking. Thank you so much.
Excellent. There's quite a few suggestions coming in from chat of flavours that they'd be interested in.
Aye. Coconut, cat, savoury, sav. M&M's for M&M.
Well, I am not going to go with what Mighty Mouse suggested the other night, which was...
What, was it cheese, cabbage and beans?
No. He said he wouldn't wipe his Cisco up his cat's backside, and I said neither would I, otherwise it would taste a 555.
Uh-huh.
Shocking.
It is. Absolutely terrible.
Terrible.
Absolutely terrible. Right, we've got about 4 minutes left.
Right, well, speaking of Mighty Mouse, we've got another question from him saying,
Right.
how about a vape cruise in with a convoy of vapors doing a pub crawl? Could start on a Friday, end on a Sunday, working from north to south or south to north across the country.
That's a possibility, but I'm here to tell you I don't drink with amateurs. So Rusty can come. Yeah, I mean, if you know, if people want to sort these things out, that would be absolutely a great idea. Doing a hotel crawl, pub crawl, that kind of thing. Why not? Why not? Get a tour done. Get some great footage out of it. We'd definitely do that. But yeah.
Yeah, no. I thought he actually meant a cruise. I was getting quite excited about
I know,
the
a
prospect
cruise,
of
I'd be
that.
well up for a cruise.
Definitely.
Well, does that boat that you were on down at Tynemouth, does that not go out on the water?
No. It's on the water, but it wouldn't go out to Gandon.
Sink.
It would sink.
There is a boat that does a cruise around Durham, you know. They might be up for it because they do parties.
Well, there's the party boats. There's a couple that do them up and down the Tyne because I used to work on them, but I get a bit seasick after a while.
Right, I've got a very strange phenomenon going on here. Do you want to know about it?
Go on then.
Well, my carton was getting a little bit dry.
Uh-huh.
Right, I filled it earlier and I had a look and I thought it's still damp at the top, so it must just be a bit dry at the bottom then.
Uh-huh.
So, as many people would have seen me do, because I did it on air there, I put a little bit of this lovely clear liquid in, which is Vermilion River Key Lime, into one of these. Now,
All right.
Can you see the colour of that?
Yes. It's black.
That's what came out
Right.
of the cartomizer. And can you see that?
That looks like you've just blown your nose on it.
Well, that's what's coming out of the bottom of this cartomizer.
Right.
And it's a bit of a mystery. This has never happened to me before. Anybody know what's going on here?
It's oxidizing.
That is almost black, what's come out of there.
Well, that's fine. If you remember, when we did Vape Fest, somebody was asking Peter Cole about this, and he said he had a bottle on his desk that was black as the ace of spades. Completely black, but it was absolutely fine. And
now, that was vape and dry, though, Dave.
Aye.
You know? And just putting a tiny bit of juice in the bottom there, because I didn't put any in the top at all. This juice has been hanging on in there. And that is just not good at all.
Well, I think that's probably the sign that the carto's dead. You should clean it using the bin method.
Agreed.
Yeah, I would totally agree with it. It was brand new this morning, though.
Well, it's all right. You've had a day out of it.
Not really. It's been quite poor all day, to be honest.
Well, you've had a bad one then.
That's why I thought I'm going to it, you know. It was done on air, so I'll show you on air.
Well, exactly right, yes. And that's something that we can come back and have a look at next week and perhaps start the show with, because our time is up. Time to go.
Already?
It's flown past again.
Hasn't it just?
It's absolutely blistered past. Can I say thank you to you and Sav, the pair of you, for coming in and doing your usual tremendous job. I'd be lost without the pair of you. And thank you to our live audience tonight for feeding the questions in that you have. It's been an interesting chat. I hope it's interested you half as much as it's interested me, because if it has, it'll have interested me twice as much as it. Never mind. Yeah, I've thoroughly enjoyed my bit self. It's flown by, and we can play out with a video. So from the three of us, bye bye.
Bye.